Cool. So, yeah, we had some really good commitment on Euro AUD, which is really nice. Um, so what we were looking at is perhaps maybe potentially a larger pattern here, but this was also a strong possibility for a short. So if we look on the larger structure, we did kind of create this expanding here, but we were definitely gravitating towards a price target of either this low or this low. Now it seems like this low is the highly probable area of what we're going to gravitate to. So giving the sort of scenario of the large time frame, it's very possible that we could extend a little bit lower, push back up, and then start moving up to a higher price target, which I think I'm quite favorable for. However, it's very possible that we can sell off as well. So looking at the Euro Aussie, what I do like about this a lot is the fact that right now, um, as we can see over here, we had this, um, where if we just cut through this ever so slightly, don't really need to look at it like that. I mean, this is what we originally did kind of look at, but more so if we look at it like this, and then price did cut through this. So when this happened, this was fully eligible to either open up a reduced risk entry over here. 60 pips though, not most people's favorable, but to the low it's around about 3 to 1. So it's still a good trade and it's well protected. There's definitely room for refinement there, but I think in terms of the best possible way of taking this entry, I think that would have been it really, even though it's around about 60 pips long. It's the safest sort of scenario where you would have just set your pending order here and go there. It can be as simple as that. Sometimes it can get complicated. Like I said, one of the reasons why I wasn't in on it is just because there was this sort of scenario where we could have created something a little bit larger and then sold off, and then I'm just sitting at the bottom over here to get tagged out somewhere over here. So um, even so, it played out. It's running pretty well. Price target's down there. I think the next course of action for myself now is just to wait for price to come into this area here, and then once price is kind of you know made a sort of significant pullback over here, and then we start getting continuation to upside, I'll be looking to get involved. So that's basically the outlook on Euro Aussie. The DXY, once again, I think it's just a matter of timing. I think we might see some short play coming in too soon. We could either short off from this zone here and start making its way back down, or we might actually just get a little bit more complicated and then short and then create something a little bit more larger. Um, there's a few possibilities on the table. I just think it needs some more time to materialize, but this could definitely be a nice little play here. Just give it some time to materialize, in my opinion, and then it'll play out. But we know that these are some good areas to be looking for a potential long to create the larger flag. Depending on how large it will be, I don't know. It could even take some time. We could get something a little bit more structured and then come in like that and then sell. I think that's something I'm a little bit more favorable into. Perhaps maybe not that large, but I think that's something that could definitely form as a really nice sort of 1, 2, 3 leading up structure, and then we just sell off and we get a lot of entries on the way down here, and then we can just scale and go. But phenomenal play so far. If we look on the weekly, we can see that we've had this 1, 2, 3, very nice. We've put the near miss. Don't need to fill that just yet, but we can. There's nowhere to say that we can't just make our way back up. So that's why getting involved in this area here could be a very, very good play. So I'm going to be very cautious and see how we react to this price point here. I've called it the high value area, the mass psychology zone. So definitely just keeping an eye, not going to be entering immediately at that price, perhaps maybe somewhere in here, and then be getting our way. And then hopefully if we do start pushing aggressively to the upside, then we know that we could be making our way back up. But on the long term right now, it looks like we are heavy short. So looking at the larger flag to come down. So like I said, mindset's a little bit neutral, but I am looking for that pullback. Euro yen, haven't really been tagged with my alert yet. So as we can see, we do have a near miss to this at the moment, and we are forming an ascending. So, looking at buys isn't really off the table for me. I think, scaling in for the buys is absolutely of interest. And I think, we are forming a very nice little middle section here now. It's just a matter of timing, in my opinion. I think maybe one last push down and then we push up, but we can definitely go from here. There's more than enough to support this. Two tests to the trend line. We've also got two touches, equal spacing, nice clear corrective middle section. What I'm actually looking for now is the push up, a flag, and then we go, and then basically hopefully making it to the override or the 1, 2, 3. And that's basically the gameplay I'm looking for. I don't think I'm going to be looking for too much more. I think, this is very corrective on the way back up. I'm not going to, sort of guess where this line is because it's just kind of guessing at that point. But I'll definitely be looking at something like this for now. And then we'll see how it goes. I think this will be somewhat corrective on the way up. It can be impulsive, but I think we will get some sort of corrective play, and then maybe this could evolve even further. So yeah, but this sort of trend line, um, I'm not really going to be messing around with. I think I'm more so interested to just see this final structure play out. Once the final structure's played out, we get that final reversal ascending pattern at the end of this structure, then I'll be looking for the short. So essentially, keeping it simple, keeping it patient, up here, down there, boom, and that's the gameplay for me. So looking at you, EJ there, Euro New Zealand dollar. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal pair. Same situation, we're getting that 1, 2, 3 ascending. It's just a matter of time now. It doesn't really yeah, well, okay. So we've got a inflection point here. We've got a 1, 2, 3 ascending. Once again, don't want to be guessing where the line is, so I'm not too fussed about the third touch. More so just a push above the override, push back down, and then continuation to the downside. That's all I'm looking for, keeping it so simple there. Got the 1, 2, 3. And then this is the larger structure. So being very, very mindful that two things, and I think this is the gameplay that I'll be looking for, is literally we got the touch 1, touch 2, the push down. This is the middle section. We've got the impulse, the correction, and then the continuation to the third touch. Perhaps maybe it could become a little bit flatter. That's also a possibility. And then we hit the point here where we reverse and then we look in to go long. So that will be a short-term play. I think there'll definitely be a decent amount of profit on the table there. It'll probably be running for a couple weeks. Who knows? Couple more than a couple weeks, of course. And then then we'll go. Of course, this can just push down, gravitate all the way back up, and then we get something a little bit more like this, where we kind of just come in here and then we go. And I think that's a lot more probable as well. But I'll keep it sort of base here. Remember, this is a non-confirmed trend line. This is a little bit more confirmed because we've got two bottoms, equal spacing, and the arc. But more so, just for the forecasting perspective, we've got an A to B movement there, and then we could follow it in like this, and then it could leave us like that. There's a few variations on the table, so I keep that open for just a visualization. And yeah, so we push back up, we get the 1, 2, 3, and then when that 1, 2, 3 is complete, then I'll be looking to go. I think it's a little bit of a tricky one, only because this would form as an override, which I think the override is also probable, but possible. I think this is the more probable one, the 1, 2, 3. However, bearing in mind we don't really have an inflection point to go off, so we can extend a little bit further, keeping that in mind that even though we get here, we could just create a structure up here and then come down. So keeping that very, very mindful as well. GBP Swiss. I think GBP Swiss is sick actually. I missed it, unfortunately. It was a trade that I was forecasting for some time. My trade was literally up here, and then yeah, I just a case of missed it. That's it really. So I had this on, so I had the 1, 2, and then let's just say, this is the point I was looking at. So it was just an extension out of this. Then we had the 1, 2, 3 leading up to it, and then we had this like final sort of expanding over here, where once again, this is looking for perfection 1, 2, 3, but there was more than enough here. So we had this squeeze over here, which kind of formed as the 15-minute sort of situation. And it was more so like this. So as soon as we had that retrace candle in there, I was like, okay, this could definitely be ready for a trade, and then that could have been easily, let's call it about 20 pip stop loss would have been enough to cover me even if it did push back up, complete the 1, 2, 3, or the hit override and then go. And then, yeah, I would have been in for the trade here. So then I would have probably been in here. Would I have got out the trade about 1.3? Probably not. I would have probably held it. And then I'd be running around about 3% now. Now, looking at how price is over here, there's a possibility that we can still come up for the top of that expanding. So, in terms of how I would manage this, if I was in the trade right now, I would be extra aggressive with that. I'd probably be holding in around about 2.8, roughly about 2.8, 2.5 at its most. But yeah, so that's basically how I would be holding it right now. And then I would let price just do whatever it has to do. Just remember, we've got this sort of whole run here. So if we can make it back down to these lows here as well, this would be very much interesting. So, in terms of that, we have a 2.5 locked in, and then there's around about 16 on the table. So that's basically how I would look to take it there. Otherwise, if we do get that opportunity where price does come back up here and then we go, that's going to be mega. So I'll be getting involved in that for sure. But like I said, we're still in a midweek, about Wednesday now, so still some time for this to materialize. The next one I've got is GBP yen. GBP yen is pretty decent as well. So it's not sort of the typical structure I was looking for. And to be honest, in no means did I get entered in it, and I was going to get entered into it. I was looking for more so a completion of this. So I wanted to see price break above this and come back down, and it hasn't yet done that. So I think I'll give it some more time to materialize. I think perhaps maybe we are creating something a little bit more complicated. So I'll give it some time. But this is a sort of possibility where, we start to reject, come in, and then we create something like this, catching everyone out, and then this becomes a price pattern of itself. So that's something that I'm more so interested in. I know it's a little bit way off, however, it's a possibility. So that's something that I'll be looking at. But would I be getting involved on this sort of push? Yeah, the second leg for sure I'll be getting pushed on. If there's a push down and a flag, there's no structured approach here, so it's not something I'm looking for. Push down the flag. If we get a nice little flag down here, I'll be looking to go in short. If it does take me out, then I'll just be looking for the 1, 2, 3, and I'll be out for the I'll be in for the short. So that's basically the position. And then where I'd be trying to take it is to the low, probably to around about here, roughly. I think it just needs some time to materialize, but I think this could be a mega trade if it does play out for the 1, 2, 3. We could see it even come all the way back down to here, which I think is pretty big in itself. Has a lot of potential, can still come back even lower as well. But right now, GBP pairs are looking majorly bullish, but I think there's definitely some strong shorts on the table for these yen pairs. So give it some time to materialize. But yeah, I think that would be the gameplay. And if you wanted to see it in terms of a risk reward, I'll take it from the 1, 2, 3, because I think the 1, 2, 3 is um, best position that could be taken in my opinion. And would I take it risk entry? Yep. So let's just say there was a retrace candle there which supported me and probably around about 26 pips or so. Let's just call it 30 to just be a bit extra. And then yeah, so we'll be looking at around about 40-ish% for, yeah, about 50% for the short on the GBP yen, to that low, and then to this price target we're looking at about 25. So it's decent, and there'll probably be scaling opportunity as well. So most probably be getting another opportunity over here and then so forth down there. So if you want to add that up, these positions do add up. That's another 42, and the size of the position will probably be a bit less. I probably won't have a 30 pip stop loss. So looking at these, I'll probably be very decent profit. New Zealand yen, similar situation. We didn't quite tap into that point which I was looking at. So I think in terms of this, it needs a little bit more further development in my opinion. But what I do like is that we could be creating some decent structure at this point. So I'm going to be looking at something like that. And then if we do get a flag and we go, so be it. I'll be getting involved on that, and then we've got this sort of opportunity here where I think that could be a mega trade in itself as well. So definitely give it some time. I think, a lot of these pairs need time. That's the main thing. I think I won't be jumping into a trade here anytime soon, especially with how we've correctively moved away from this price. If we move impulsively and then create a nice little continuation down here, and then I'll go short for sure. There's a possibility there, and then just call it a near miss, and we could gravitate back and just know that that's always on the table. But at the moment, there's also a lot of opportunity for this, and I think similar risk reward here. I'll say around about 30 pips there, and then be looking at around about 15% to that low, and then to this point over here, looking at another about 20%, and then around about 35 there. So definitely got some opportunity, but I'm not looking to go short long term on this. I think New Zealand yen definitely has some potential to go higher, but we can gravitate all the way low back down to these lows. 88%. These numbers are crazy. 36% if we do start making it lower. So bearing that in mind, that's definitely a strong possibility to have on the tables as well. Going into the wild cards, I think the wild cards are also really nice. There's some really, really good trades on the table here for them. I think the one that I'm actually looking at the most is Australian US dollar. So if we look at this right now, we have this inflection point, override point over there. We've had a push up. We've had this sort of very corrective section over here. It's been corrective essentially. This was the only real impulsive part. The rest was very corrective. So as we approach correctively, I am now looking for final ending structure. Unfortunately, it's not going to be ready anytime soon. But looking at this sort of trend that we're in, it looks like we do have some potential for some aggressive movement to come into play. I think with news coming in tomorrow, I believe, yep, tomorrow at 1:30, it could just create some additional volatility to help push this to the downside. Just got to wait and see how that really pans out. But let's just have a little look. So what I'm looking at now is two things. Do we get something a little bit, and I wouldn't be thinking that in terms of an ending structure, would it be, because we did have enough here. We had this, and then we had the sort of extension of this, the push down, didn't quite commit, and then we pulled back up. I think with this aggressive pullback up, are we just aggressively moving to this point or the next price point, which would be over here, to only then sell off aggressively? Currently, there's not enough data for me to say I'm going to go short right now. I don't want to just be shorting in the middle of nowhere, because especially if we're quite close to this price point, I don't want to short off here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally wait for an ending structure. So maybe we might get something like this. We might push up, we might push back, we might go like this, and then we might commit and sell. That will probably be something I'll be more in favorable for, only because it would be somewhat less risk. Even if we don't completely fill that 1, 2, 3, bear in mind we have completed and tapped into the override. So we could even have something like that, where it correctively moves, and then we tap into this, and then it's like that. It's not really the full 1, 2, 3, but there's enough there for it to go, because we have tapped into that. We don't even need to come back up for the third touch regardless anyway. We could actually create a head and shoulders as well. It's also a possibility. Bear that in mind. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Doesn't really look like your typical head and shoulders though, so it's not something that I will be forecasting, but it's something I'll be aware of. But more so, I think the most important one is this final ending structure. So just going to wait to see how that develops. If we do get something nice with a 1, 2, 3, that will be something I'll be more favorable for. Also bearing in mind this may not be ready anytime soon. We could just create a flag, or not even create a flag. We might even just push up aggressively and then create something over here and then go up here. There's a few variations on the table, so keep that in mind as well, of how this could essentially play out. Euro GBP, it's one that is kind of like now, it's just kind of extended a bit too much for me. I don't think it's something that I am in favorable for immediately. I think if I was going to take a trade on this, it would have been earlier in the week when we had a trade to push lower here, but it looks like it's now moving up more aggressively. At the moment, it's not a trade that, like I said, hasn't really got much for me to get involved in. If I was going to take it, I'd probably take it long at this point, and I would wait for a pullback to maybe around about this sort of area here, and then play this expanding to the upside. So wait for price to come back down here and then take it to there, and then that would be the trade. In terms of risk reward, I don't know if it's a decent enough risk reward. There might even be a 10 pip trade in there. But yeah, around about 7%. So, I mean, in terms of percentage, it's definitely decent. Wouldn't take the risk entry. I'll wait for a little bit of more commitment to the upside, and then maybe a retrace if possible, and then we'll just go from there. So basically look at something like that, bearing in mind that we could just extend, maybe just hit into that price point over there. It's always a possibility. So, just try and mitigate risk as much as possible. But typical pair for this sort of price action. So being aware that if you are waiting for that sort of final touch there, we get these sort of pushes away sort of areas. We always kind of just extend with a wick before we go anywhere. So, that sort of momentum could come in here. We might actually see something like this where price comes down, goes up, and then just spikes in and then goes. So I'd be aware of that as well. But if we do get a spike like that and it's a long wick, then maybe be inclined to actually take a position on that. If it's like this, then it might not be the one. But if it's something like that, you might want to just be like, okay, interesting. I could just take a position there and then hold it, and then essentially be in for a run, which is now running around about 6%. So there's a lot of possibilities on the table for this. GBP CAD. GBP CAD needs time, unfortunately. It's just, I don't think, like I said, it's either a larger flag or it's just going to start getting very corrective and coming back down. So at the moment, it's not really a trade I'm really going to entertain. There's nothing there for me. The next one is GBP USD, sick trade. Honestly, there's opportunity forming right now as we speak. Possibly the 1-2-3 completion. Right now, it looks like this is the corrective part to it. So I think this is the gameplay. We're going to get something like a little bit like this, and then price will come in over here, maybe just kind of pushing a little bit lower, and then we'll get something like that, and then we can look for the short. So the short would be somewhere over here, probably. Would we get something similar to this? Possibly. It's possible, but I would wait for the 1-2-3, get that 1-2-3 in there, and then I'll be looking to take that trade. So I think in terms of the trade, this could be it, where we kind of just come in here, we tap in over there, and then we get the push up, push down on the flag, and we go. Would I top tap in for the third touch here? Yeah, of course, 100%. I would definitely look for that risk. I think this expanding is definitely not something I'm looking at now. Two separate pattern separations. I think if you go to the 15 minutes, a little bit more clear, you can probably refine it a little bit more as well. I'd look at something like that, and then let's just say that it does go from here, then even so it doesn't matter, it's just there. So wait for price to come to this zone here, which also meets with that override. So you can look at it two ways. You could either wait for it to come here, take our entry over here, obviously wait for the retrace, and then probably just take it in like that, 15-16 pips, and then to that low, you've got 5%, and then to this low, you've got roughly around about 16, and then onwards. So it's good position in my opinion. That was a great position as well. It's just a shame that I closed it manually. My fault completely, but it is what it is. There'll be more opportunity. I'm only missing out on 3% there, so and I'll probably make more because the stop loss was 21%, 21 pips. I'll probably get into a better stop position as well. There's plenty of opportunity in the market. So yeah, essentially that summarizes the outlook for today. I don't think there's really anything else. I think I'm going to take this position. No, I'm going to leave it as is. Yeah, so main watch is GBP USD. Euro GBP, I don't think that's on main watch at the moment. I don't think. Yeah, I think Aussie USD is definitely on. I don't think the yen pairs will be ready yet. I think they could just aggressively start selling and then just gravitate up. Could do anything. So I'll keep that there. Don't think I'm gonna have it on watch today. Probably a tomorrow one. Probably Thursday, Friday might be ready. Um, Euro New Zealand dollar is going to be sick. I just don't think there's enough aggressive momentum to get there just yet. So tomorrow, Euro Yen, contemplatable. Honestly, I think it's very contemplatable. Definitely think this could be a good buy in this area it is in now. Just needs a little bit. No, I think it's got enough now. I think just need to see it kind of commit up. So if we can get a good buy in there, that would be great at some point. Just push up and then sort of small correction, and then this one can just move down low. So I think I'll put EA on watch as well. I don't know if we'll get that aggressive sell-off and push back up. Could be an evening trade, early Asian session, most probably, and then could tie in with a few other things. But yeah, that's basically it. So EA, EJ, AU, and GU, but most certainly GU and AU. EJ is there, just there, and then EA is just there. So yeah, that's it. Wicked, awesome. Thank you. Have a good week, and